Dr. Delia, naturopathic physician, life schooling mother of 5, and founder of Naturopathically Speaking, a place where we can explore all things health and healing holistically for individuals and homeschooling families. Yeah, you've seen that topic. Today we're going to talk about fevers and how I treated naturally the highest fever yet in all of our 5 kiddos, the youngest one at a temperature of over 107.5. Yes, I said that right. Those numbers were pretty high. But before I get into that, comment below if you're a parent and when fevers come, it scares you a lot. Yes, it is definitely one of those topics that has most parents up at night if they have to be naturally, or very concerned and want to find a way to bring that fever down, because we don't like it when our kids are sick, right? We don't. Well, before I tell you exactly how I treated our youngest of 5, our toddler, with that high fever, let's talk a little bit about fevers and help us understand what's going on. In naturopathic medicine, the philosophy is that the body has an innate ability to heal itself once we take out the obstacles to cure, or remove the garbage from the body, increase the vital force, and take out the garbage, increase the vital force, and remove the obstacles to cure. That's it. Then the body knows what it knows to do best. It heals. It is innate. It was designed that way. When we have symptoms in the body, any symptoms for that matter, it is the body's way of alerting us that something is out of balance and it's trying to heal. So when we have symptoms in the body, generally speaking, we don't want to necessarily suppress it, but we want to go like detectives to find out what's the root of that problem. What's the real reason why this symptom is occurring, so that we can address the root and then the body's going to heal. The same, is for fevers. When I think about fevers, I think about a pot of boiling water. When you put a pot on the stove and we crank the stove up, the water starts to get hot. Eventually, the water starts boiling. And when the water boils, then it starts evaporating. If we do nothing to that pot of boiling water, it's going to evaporate all the way down to the bottom, and then the pot will burn. However, if we need that pot of water for something, whatever function we need it for, then we would probably tend to, and we're not ready to take it off the stove yet. Who's done that before? Comment below if you've put a pot of boiling water on the stove and you had a ton of things to do, and then the water starts going down, and what do? We add more water because we're like, shoot, I actually needed that, right? So then you add more water to keep it at the level that you need it for the function you need it for at. Well, that's simply and similarly to what's going on in the body when we have a fever. A fever is a sign from the body that there's an invading host that doesn't belong. It's fighting an infection. Generally speaking, that can be a microorganism like a bacteria or a virus. Either way, the body's not happy. It's saying, you don't belong here. Those microorganisms tend to thrive at the body's natural normal temperature of 98.6. So if the body did not send the signal out of a high fever, then those little critters, those little bugs, are going to say, let's go in and just cause havoc on the system and damage the host and cause more problems. But our intelligent designing body says, we don't want you here. So what do? I increase that temperature. I let it go high. As a matter of fact, the higher the temperature that the body is able to accomplish, it's a reflection on how robust the immune system is. Because the immune system is saying, I can help you fight this thing, get rid of it, get it out of here, send enough soldiers with this heat to fight it so that my immune system can tackle the problem, get rid of it, and then develop antibodies to make it better. Now, that person becomes now with a stronger, more robust immune, right? So we have different levels of temperatures that usually come about. The low-grade fever is kind of like 99 to 100, 101. Those are generally you see your child will be running around playing. Our children have been playing around. They run around with that. They're not feeling the best, but they're doing okay. Their temperature's rising. They're like, Mom, I feel a little warm, and that's it. Then you have temperatures that are a little bit higher, where it goes up to like 102 to 103. Then you know your child may start getting a little calmer. They may want to lay down and, snuggle up and keep warm or just relax. They may lose their appetites at that time. These are all symptoms of the body naturally doing what it knows to do best. Because we know in naturopathic medicine that the body heals remarkably when it's in a place of rest. And that means a parasympathetic state, a rest and digest state. When the body is in that frame of reference, it does its best work. It heals, it recovers, it restores. Right? So their children are so innate, they're so primal, they naturally go with the flow of what their bodies tell them. So generally when the temperature gets to that, they tend to kind of lay low and relax. And their temperatures that are even higher, of above 103, 104 and beyond. Now, when we have temperatures that are going on, like I talked about the pot of boiling water, we want to make sure that we are keeping our children hydrated. For the same reason that if we didn't add any more water to the pot of water, that pot of water that was boiling and it would evaporate, the pot will burn. Well, the pot is like the body, right? And the water is like the fluids in our body. We need the fluids in our body to stay hydrated. When we're not hydrated, or when dehydration starts happening, that's when the problems start occurring. We think about brain damage, febrile seizures of some sort. Sometimes febrile seizures actually occur when there's a rapid change in temperature. But in terms of brain damage and so forth, when the body's in a dehydrated state, we become concerned with those things. So it's very important for us as parents, and this is what we do in our home, we've been taught this in our medical training, to keep the body hydrated. Now let's talk about hydration for a little bit, because when we think about hydration, most people may want to give their kids popsicles, fruit popsicles, or juice, or Gatorade, or things of that nature. I would suggest not. Why? Most of those products are so filled with sugars, refined sugars, processed sugars, and sugars in general. And what we know to be true is that sugar suppresses the immune system significantly. We don't want our immune system to be suppressed at this time. We want our immune system to be robust so it can fight off those critters. We can fight off those problems, those bacteria, those microorganisms, so that they can get out of the body and the body can return to its normal state. So we don't want to give the body sugary foods that will suppress it. Another thing you may notice when your child is sick is that they don't want to eat. Well, when the body is fighting off an infection of any kind, usually it needs all the soldiers in the body to be able to do its job, do it efficiently, do it quickly, and do it well. When we eat, and you would notice that your child is generally not asking for anything to eat, so don't force them. When we eat, we are now diverting some attention to the digestive tract. And when we do that, the body is not able to function at its optimal to heal off whatever causes. So we've been taught starver fever, starver cold. It just means that, but generally the child doesn't want to eat anyway. It just means that you don't need to feed them. That's fine that they don't want to eat, but they need fluids because we don't want that pot to burn, right? We don't want our children to become dehydrated. It's important if they're doing fluids, like we do at home, to make sure that they're doing broths, vegetable broths, chicken broths, or any kind of broth would be nice for them, or, water works just fine. Or if you want to make your homemade electrolytes, take a little bit of freshly squeezed orange juice, or orange juice that's not from concentrate, pure orange juice, and 100% pure orange juice, and you just put a little bit of it in a tall amount of water for your child, so it's very diluted. They don't need it to be super sugary, remember, and then you just add a pinch of salt. Adding a pinch of salt is what we do. That helps the body to replenish the electrolytes so that it does not become dehydrated and the functions of the body works well. So now let's talk about our little kiddo and how we were able to treat him naturally. We went to the park that day, and as we do at the park, we run, play, they have races, they swing, what kids do at the park. They slide down the slides, climb, run, have a good time. We were at the park. There was no one else at the park. Most kids are in school at that time. And we came home in time for brunch. He came home. Everything seemed fine. He was pretty active, playing around. After he had his brunch, I was getting ready to put him down for his nap. And I thought, well, he feels a little warm. Checked his temperature. It was about 99.9. So I thought, oh, okay. Generally, we have a plethora of tools in our arsenal that we are able to use to treat things naturally. And if you haven't heard of homeopathic remedies, they are amazing. They are safe and effective and very gentle on the body, and they support the body's ability to heal itself. So they're very supportive. There's a homeopathic remedy called Ferrum Phos, and we used that remedy and gave him a dose. It's great for fevers under 102.1 or 102. Any fevers below that, it works really well for that. And so we did that. We gave him that, and we've been doing this for a while, and so that worked very well. Put him down for his nap. When he woke up from his nap, he seemed to be doing okay. As the mid-afternoon progressed, his temperatures went up. It climbed up to 103. We're keeping him hydrated like we did. We kept him hydrated like we usually do, but he didn't really have much of an appetite. We didn't push that at all. So eventually, at 103 and above, we use a different homeopathic remedy, belladonna, and that works really well for temperatures above 102. So we gave him that brought the temperature back down. We gave him a dose of that. It brought the temperatures back down, and then we fed him another dose of Ferrum Phos, homeopathic. The afternoon continued on. He played like regular. Now it was time for dinner. He was a little fussy. He did not want anything to eat. He didn't really want to eat. He kept batting it away, but we fed him. I'm still a breastfeeding mom, and so he got on the boob. He wanted to stay on a little bit longer. There was time for dinner. Then it was time for bed. His temperature was about 103, so gave him another dose of belladonna and gave him some cold, wet socks. We call them magic socks. They're incredible. It's a form of hydrotherapy for the body. And what we do is that we take cold socks, cotton socks, and we wring them out dry, but they're cold, ice cold. We dip them in ice cold water, we wring them out dry, and then we put them on the child's feet, or you can do it as an adult. It works fantastic. So we put it on the child's feet, and then we cover the feet over with wool socks, So we do cotton socks that are wet and cold, and then dry wool socks, and then you put your child to bed. Now, what's going on there? Well, what happens is that cold drives a lot of blood down to the area to warm up the feet. As it's doing that and it's rushing the blood down to the feet, it's pumping a lot of nutrients and oxygen to the blood. It's starting to circulate that, which increases O2 circulation, and that improves the immune. That improves the immune system. So those immune cells are just it increases the white blood cells, it improves the body's immune. It has a mimicking, so all through the night, the body is going to send blood down and come back up, and so it kind of creates a pumping action where it's mimicking the pumping action of the heart, and that's what the heart's job is to do. It's to increase oxygen and nutrients to the body's organs and to remove waste, and so it's speeding up. It's helping the heart do its job. And that usually works so well for any kind of ailment that you have, generally speaking, with your children and adults. So we did that and put him to bed. Around 8 o'clock, I went in to check in on him. He was fast asleep. When I checked his temperature was 106. 105, I'm sorry. It was 105. And I thought, okay, let's give him another dose of belladonna, something that we've done along with our kids. I gave him another dose of belladonna within a short space of time, under 15 minutes or less. For infants, it even works faster. So maybe within 5 or 6, 7 minutes, it dropped the temperature back down. Once the temperature dropped back down, he was still in a sleepy state. He went to sleep. Less than an hour later, I thought, let me just check his temperature again. When I checked his temperature, this time his temperature was 106 point something. Now, those numbers, I haven't experienced them in our children yet. We've gone to 105 before, and we've been able to manage those very well because, you know, the body wants to be supported. You know, that's we've done. 106, those numbers were a little bit high, but I continued to give him belladonna every 15 minutes or so, and the temperature would drop down. Then it would rise back up. So it was undulating, up and down and up and down. Over time, over a short space of time, within 10-15 minutes, the temperature even went up higher. So it went up to 107. At this point in time, like every parent who would be very concerned of the effects of that, I called into my naturopathic doctor and to continue to get the support that I already knew that I needed, that I already understood that with the body's temperature, but you know, it's good to have that support because I hadn't seen those numbers for any of my children yet. And so we did a cold sheet wrap, the same principle as we would for the socks, except now it's a sheet. As a matter of fact, I used my husband's shirt. So I used his shirt, a cotton shirt, we dipped it in cold ice water, wrung it out really dry, and just wrapped it one layer around his little torso, his body. Once we did that, we took the wool blanket and wrapped that around him, and the process is the same. It vasodilates, because it's like, whoa, this is cold. It vasodilates the blood vessels, vasoconstricts and vasodilates, and that allows the nutrients and the oxygen to circulate even faster throughout the entire body, particularly the torso, and that usually lowers the temperature about 1 or 2 degrees, and it did. We gave him a homeopathic remedy, and then he continued to sleep. It was about that time, it was 9 o'clock, so it was pretty late for him. He goes to bed early, and so he continued to sleep, but he wanted to stay suckling on the boobs. So he wanted to continue breastfeeding, so he did. And as he did that, I wanted to make sure that he stayed hydrated, and he would not take the bottle. He refused to take his sippy bottle. He did not want it, so what did I do? I used a syringe, a little dropper syringe, and I kept dipping it into his fluids and inserting it into his mouth, because that way it's gentle, it's safe, it's small enough, and he just kept getting that all night. Remember, we want to keep the body, support the fever by keeping fluids going. Fluids helps to keep the body from overboiling, becoming dehydrated, and it keeps the body being able to support fighting off this infection. So that's what we did all night long. And I would occasionally give him belladonna as his temperatures remained high and came down. So it kept undulating, came up, went down, came up, went down, came up, went down. It's 106, 104, 106, 102, 106. And so we just kept going with that. You know, every hour I would give him a dose. We went up to a higher dosing of belladonna when we saw the temperatures at 107 and above, and those you would definitely need to see a physician for that. They're not sold in in your health food stores. So we did that, used the arsenals that we had, gave him the belladonna over the night. Throughout the night, he stayed suckling and breastfeeding. I kept inserting, while he was on the breast, I kept inserting the syringe of water 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 throughout the night. I just kept giving it out to him, and that will help keep his temperature and his body comfortable while it was fighting off whatever infection that was present. So by the morning, by 8 o'clock that morning, he was still in a tired state because naturally that was an uncomfortable night for him. But before you know it, by 10 o'clock that morning, his fever broke. So it was high, it was robust. It was a sign that his body was capable of reaching high temperatures so that it can fight off the pathogens that were in his body that were causing his body to be uncomfortable and not feel well, while we kept him hydrated, while we used the cold sheet wraps with the wool blankets and the cold wet socks for the feet with the wool socks. And those were the ways in which we were able to help him help him help his body, support his body through that process. Most parents think, I want to just go find an antipyretic, which is an agent to bring the fevers down. Usually Tylenol, ibuprofen, aspirin. Aspirin has now been studied that that's not what you want to use in your children at all. But for sure, we sometimes want to use the antipyretics. But what that does, it does not support the body's immune system to fight off the infection. It suppresses the fever. And when we suppress the fever, then we're allowing those bugs, those invading agents, to stay longer than they need to be. They're there longer. So we want to support it, not suppress it. In general, we want to support the fever, not suppress it with the arsenals that we used, that I talked about. There are many other ways that you can continue to support it by making sure there's a tepid, cloth, just tepid, not too ice cold, just to help to vasodilate and allow the body to be able to get rid of some of the heat naturally to support that. So, the body is innate in how it knows to heal. It is. We want to support the body. Right now, we are in the cold and flu season. Right now, we know what that means. Just in another couple of days or so, we have Halloween coming up, then Thanksgiving, then Christmas, then New Year's, then Valentine's, then Easter. No, before Easter, there's one more, St. Patrick's, then Easter, and we have all of these holidays that are surrounded with lots and lots of candy and lots of sugary things that are going to be at our abundant disposal for our children and for ourselves. And the weather is also changing. So it's the perfect combination of a storm that causes the immune system to be suppressed or to be compromised. So I would suggest definitely staying away from sugary foods and definitely processed and refined sugary foods as much as possible, so you can help to support your body and support your child's immune system so that they can be able to fight off any infections or prevent the cold or the flu from occurring if you can. That's one of the definite ways you can do that. Getting rid of sugar altogether, just removing it from their diet, and at least, if it's hard to remove it all, at least limit the amount of sugar that they're eating through this season. Remember that the body knows what to do. It knows how to heal itself, and we want to support it at its best. We want to be a supporter, not a suppressor of the immune system. Comment below if this was very helpful for you, if this was informative, if you would like to see more videos like this. Let me know in the comments below. Share this, tag a friend, share it, hit like, subscribe to the channel for more upcoming topics. With children, if you're a parent, there are a plethora of things that happen in this thing called childhood. And so there will be more videos coming soon. Hopefully you will be able to be informed as well. Thank you and have a wonderful day.